Hello everyone, I'm Greg from Mystery Honey, and today I am making a video to help some friends of mine who are struggling with beehives. Uh, be, I'm, I've been mentoring a group called the Friends of Lime and the Wood at Country Park, and they have been having issues recently trying to find eggs in the comb, and they've also been having a bit of an issue with swarm cells. Um, so today I'm going to be trying to make a video, just a quick one hopefully, um, of how to see eggs a bit easier and what to do when you find a swarm cell. So when you're going through the comb, if you find a swarm cell, what do you do? So hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Who says? First thing you need to see eggs a bit easier, I find, is a high-powered torch. This one's a really cheap one that I got off, I think it was eBay or something, like a few quid. But as you can see, it's really bright. It has two different types, two different modes. I like to just keep it on that mode where you can scan things a bit easier and it fits on your pocket a bit easier as well, like that. Means that if you get a comb, you can hold the comb to it and you can move it around and see if you can see any eggs. Now the eggs look like tiny, 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 tiny pieces of rice at the bottom of the cell. I'll hopefully be able to show you that on the camera, but we'll see. That's first protocol is try and see if we can find eggs, and then once we do that, I'll either find some swarm cells or I'll pretend to find some swarm cells, and we'll go through what we do next. Right, I've got my bee suit on and a jumper because it's a frosty 7 degrees C today. This t-shirt weather rule that a lot of beekeepers mention, I don't think it works in the UK anymore. Our weather is far too unpredictable, and especially with the swarm response that the hives are having these days, where they wait for a warm day and just go, right, I'm off, and then they break off. I don't think that you can wait for t-shirt weather these days. I'd say 7 degrees is still too cold. I'd usually wait till 10 degrees, but with the swarming that's been going on, I just don't want to risk it. Right, I'll see you in there. Bye. So the first protocol today is to show you how to find eggs. Now the bees aren't flying quite regularly because it's still quite cold, but as I mentioned, it is one of those things where I just have to deal with it and they'll be fine. So I'm going to be trying to pilfer some brood today as well. Like you see, the cluster is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seams wide. So usually I'd put a super on them to give them some extra space because it seems like they're going to start exploding. But I'll go inside and just have a quick look and see what we've got our hands on. I've not looked at these for 2 weeks now because they were such a small size last time that I thought there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, there's no eggs in that one. So I'm going to teach you how to shake bees. I don't know if you saw then, but when you're holding the frame, try and hold it with these two fingers here, and either use your palms like that if you can, or just a little jolt. What you don't want to do is you don't want to clatter that with the top bars here, and you don't want to properly throw them down because the bees will hit the top bars and it'll hurt them. But a quick shake like that, and it's enough to dislodge them. I'm getting smoked out by my smoker. But yeah, so lovely comb, but nothing in it. Right. So we have a bit of capped brood here. I don't know if you can you see that? Please figure out where you are. So there's some capped brood here. So just push these guys out of the way. Yeah. This looks like it's a new frame of, so they've only just got onto this frame, to be fair. and they've started chewing some of the comb away in the middle there. So that must have been some nasty comb, so they've got rid of that. They'll refresh it pretty sharpish. And there's lots of pollen all around here. Don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can see that. So if you can see the yellow here, that there is pollen. So they bring the pollen on the legs. If there's, I don't know if there will be one because they're not flying too well at the moment. No. But they come back with pollen on the legs in their little pollen baskets. And they mush it up and squish it into the cells. Right, so these guys are doing great. There's lots of brood. Much more brood than there was before because this was a nuke not long ago, a couple of weeks ago. So they've expanded quite well. So what I'm going to try and see if I can find any eggs. Now, let's move that over here. Right. So it's quite dull and gloomy, and I'm right under a big tree. So that's blocking out a load of light. So it's really hard to see into the comb to see if I can find any eggs. First protocol is just to have a quick glance to see if you can see the queen. Because if you can see the queen, then finding eggs is kind of a moot point. I can't see the queen yet. Usually I go through all the hive to try and see if I can find the queen. But this is quite a good frame of capped brood. So I'm just going to shake them off. So try and aim for the hole there. You don't really want to shake them onto the tops of the frames too much, but as long as you're gentle, that's all that matters. So shake them like that. See how it's just a little wiggle for me? Or you can shake them like that. That'll get the rest of them off. It's like clapping with your hand like that. So let's see if I can see any eggs. So this is where this comes in. Can you see that? Yeah. This is where this torch comes in. So like that or like that. So that's the best one. And you can scan through, and I don't know if you can see, but the larvae just light right up. Can you see that? So I'm going to use that and see if I can see any eggs. So I can definitely see some eggs here. So I'm going to come round to the back so I can show you guys up close. Let's see. Let's see if I can see some eggs. So, where are we? Right, okay, so we can see some eggs in that bit there. Can you see them at the bottom there? It's like a little, very, very small grain of rice. See that? That's what I use this white torch for. Just so you can see some eggs. You can see some eggs in all of these. Usually at the very bottom of the cells. So that is why this is useful. Another thing to do, the wind's changed directions, the smoke's coming this way now. If you ever deal with campfires, you know that's the problem with them, change of wind. Right, that's one trick to do. Another trick is to come from the top. So you can either look at the frame directly on, like that, and that's fine, you can see down the holes. But if you imagine the comb like that, the comb is going down at an angle like that, and then down the other way like that. So they're always angling downwards towards the center of the frame. So I find it easiest when looking for eggs to turn it upside down, because then my view is following it. You do that, use your torch, and you should be able to see eggs pretty sharpish. Yeah. I also find getting a torch with a little pocket thing here is useful, because you can just attach it to your pocket like that, and then I can then just scan away nice and easy. I don't have to use one of my hands. Yeah, right. So now I've done that, I'm going to move this a bit closer so you can see into the hive, so we don't fall in. But that's a good frame of brood. There's some drone cells which I'm not too happy about for one of my jobs that I'm trying to do today. So I'm going to leave this one and look for the next. All I'm doing is looking through slowly but surely. This is a good frame of capped brood. Got a lot of brood here, and a lot of brood here as well. I don't see the queen, which is fine. So I'm actually going to take this brood frame out. Because it's quite a good one. Usually I'm expecting to have full frames of brood. But seeing as this was a nuke, like maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's gone into a bigger area, so this hive is double the size of a nuke, I'm not too worried right now. So yeah, I'm going to take this and move this into a brood box over here. And we'll keep going. The queen should be somewhere. If I see her, I'll point her out to you. This is another good frame of brood. I'm going to shake this one as well, just because it's a good example for if you see swarm cells. If you see a single swarm cell, what you want to do is, first of all, look for a queen, because if you see the queen, then she's there and you can pick her up and do a split. If you don't see her, then you want to see eggs. And to see eggs, the best thing to do is take the bees off, and you also want to see if there's a queen cell. So if you're wanting to keep the queen cell, there's another way of shaking the bees which doesn't affect it. Because if you do this, sometimes, because the queen cell is vertical and points downwards, if you shake it too hard like that, the larvae will fall out, and then that queen cell is no good. So a good way of shaking bees off, if that's the case, is to hold it on its side by the lug, like this, and to tap your hand, like that. As you can see, it takes the bees off. And because it's sideways, the queen larvae is safe. It's another good frame of catch brood, and they've got some nectar coming in here. Ooh, I need to get me angles right. It's a good frame. I don't want to take too much of this one's brood because, as I said, it is still quite small. I might take 2 frames and that's it. This is another frame of brood. Can't see the queen, so I'm going to shake this one and have a look. So that's only just been capped because the ones around it are getting larger, and then you've got eggs all the way out here. Because the queen does it in little circles, so she goes around in circles bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit. This side's the same as well. See if I can find the queen. She should be on this one, or the one after. Yeah, this one's full of eggs. This one's got quite a lot of caps larvae. I think I'm going to take that one, and I'll leave this one alone now. This in here, keep warm. Oops. Quick check, because this is what we'll do it for. No, it doesn't really matter if you don't see the queen, as long as you've seen some eggs. That's what matters the most. If you've seen eggs, then it means that the queen's in there and she's laying. And I'm not seeing any swarm cells, so this one can be closed up and left to grow. So I've taken 2 frames out, and I'm going to replace them with some from a dead out. Now, if you look at this one, it looks absolutely minging. It's got loads of mould. All of the pollen that was there has gone off, and it's got slime from slugs and stuff like that. So it's not a great comb, but it's still okay to put into a hive. As long as the dead out didn't die from disease, and it died from starvation, or it got too small, which this was the case for this one. It was only a handful of bees and they were dead at the bottom. So it's okay to put these inside a hive. The bees will get rid of all of the mould. They'll chew away at the comb until it disappears, and they spit it all out, and then they replace it with fresh comb. And it's a good way of renewing older frames, or rather frames from a year ago or so that have just unfortunately ended up in a dead hive. Right, so push that in. There you go. Close that up, and then move on to the next one. So I hope that showed you how I see eggs, especially when it's dull and dark. And I hope it showed you what eggs look like as well, because some people may not know what they look like. Right. I'll zip this up and then move on to next door. Now this colony does have a queen, and it's a particularly small colony, to be honest, because it's in the shade, I think. I think that's what I've come to the conclusion with. But she's a good layer, so I'm going to keep her around. But what I'm going to do is, while I'm going through, I'm going to go through and pretend that I find a swarm cell, so you know what to do. So first port of call is take the lid off. Tap, 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 tap. Try and get the bees off the crown board. Check to see if you can see the queen. Nope, those are all normal workers. Next, we're going to waft it down. These are going to go down. So I'm going to break the seal of the propolis. Pull this up. I want to get rid of that slug, because that's gross. Have a look. And no, it's an empty frame. As I said, it's a small colony. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames of bees in it. Check that one, it's got a bit of honey in. Good, that's good to know, because it's been cold recently, so it means that I've had some food. Next, I'm going to look and see, oh, lots and lots of nectar coming in, and some pollen of different colours. Sure if you can see that. Get a bit closer so you can see. Pollen different colours and some nectar over here. You can see the shininess here. Another thing I've noticed is here. So this is just known as a queen cup for now. So see how it's pointing downwards. So what I'm going to do is open that up. You check this for an egg. If it has an egg in it, then it's a queen cell. But it's got nothing in. It's just an old one. So just leave it as is. Now, I'm not particularly looking for the queen, I'm just keeping an eye out for her as such. Let's try and get these slugs out. Not particularly causing trouble, it's just it's not very nice when you stick your fingers on a slug, it's a bit slimy. So this is a good frame of brood. I think this may have been one of the ones that I put in to bolster it. Just going to have a quick look, see if I can see the queen. No sign of the queen. No sign of the queen. So, I can't see the queen, but I can see that this is a brood frame, so I'm going to look for eggs. And I can see that there's eggs in there. But if you come to a hive and you don't find the eggs, then the next thing you're looking for is swarm cells. But I'll just move that out of the way so I'm not being smoked. But there's eggs here, and there's capped brood here. So, what I'm going to do is, I want to show you what I need to do. So say I saw a swarm cell. But I've also seen some eggs, so it means that the queen's still here, but they are thinking about swarming. So that's perfect time to try and move this one away. So that's perfect time to do a split. Or if you want to try and stop the swarm response, then you can do other things like a demo ray split, which I'll show you how to do at some point. But right now we're just talking about it in general terms. So what you want to do is try and find the queen. So imagine I found a swarm cell here. I'm going to try and find the queen. So I can't find her here. We're not going to shake any bees out yet. I'm going to try and find the queen first. And there she is. Can you see the red dot? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cage her. So I know that she's safe and I know where she is. There we go. So she's trapped under there now. Give her a few seconds to try and climb up the walls. There we go, there she goes, and I'm going to transfer her to this cage here. Down she goes, into the cage. Come on. If you have trouble trying to get her in the cage like this, sometimes it's best to have this is higher, because bees, for some reason, automatically try and walk upwards. So as you see, she goes up there, and now she's in the cage. So the queen's in here, nice and safe. So I'm going to stick this here. So now that I've found the queen, I'm allowed to, well, I can shake the frames now quite easily. And it means that I can make a split as well, if I really want to. So what I'm going to do is, I go back to the original sets of frames. Now that the queen's out, I know there's no danger that can come to her. And then I shake. So try not to clatter that against the edges like that, or down on top of anything. You want to try and keep the frame nice and free. So I shook it, all the bees are off. There's no swarm cells there. Next one. It's quite easy and quite quick to do, but you do have to be quite thorough when you're looking for swarm cells. So I'm going to do this on top. See, just a little top. Have a look. So what I'll have done, I'll have made a note. So imagine there's a swarm cell there. I'd make a note on top of the frame where that swarm cell is. I think I've shown you before, but I'll show you again. Another way to save queen cells. So say I pick this up and I see a really good juicy queen cell here that I really want to use. Instead of shaking the bees off the normal way, which is that way, I turn on its side and I tap my hand like that, and that maintains the queen cell so the larvae doesn't get kicked out. It means I can have a good look and see if there's any swarm cells, and I can't see any swarm cells at the moment. So I'll have a look on this one. This one's got a bit of brood on it, with a few eggs actually. I'm doing a minor inspection while I'm at it. I'm going to tap the bees off. It doesn't do the bees any harm as long as I'm not too vigorous with me shaking. Can't see any swarm cells on that one either. Get rid of that slug. Load. More eggs on this frame, so I'm going to shake these bees off. No swarm cell I can see, or queen cells. This is all you do, just methodically go through each frame, tap the bees off. So I found a little bit of chalk brood here. That is due to the weather that we're having at the moment. So what happens is the larvae gets attacked by a type of mold, which kills it, and then the mold starts to grow over the. Excuse me while I'm just rescuing some of these bees that have tried to emerge, but the other bees haven't come to help them. Right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so with chalk brood, it happens quite a lot with when it's cold and damp, because it's perfect for the fungus to grow. So I don't know if you can see that somewhere there. So what happens is, that the larvae dies, and then the fungus grows over it, and then it mishapens the larvae until it forms this flat head at the top, and then it just sinks down to the bottom. It's not too disruptive unless it's like absolutely everywhere. If it gets everywhere, so say if you're looking on most frames and they're full to the brim of chalk brood, then that usually is an indicator that you need to replace your queen. It's a rather simple fix. It's not a particularly dangerous disease. it just slows the growth of a colony. Ow! I just got stung then. Right, so I've gone through it. I've shaken all the frames off. I've had a look and I couldn't find any more swarm cells. So that to me is a good enough job. If I was to find one swarm cell that I particularly liked out of a boatload, I would make a mark of where that swarm cell is. Then I would take a frame or two of brood and bees, make sure the bees are on there, so maybe do a few shakes into whatever nuke or whatever box that you're putting this split into. Then I'd put the queen into the new box, and I'd make sure that the swarm cell was dead center, so all the bees cluster around it and make sure it's nice and warm. But as such, this isn't a swarming hive, so I'm going to release the queen. There she goes. And she's gone. So I hope that was a bit of an explanation on what to do if you see swarm cells. If you have any more questions, please just leave them in the comments, and I'm more than happy to answer anything, really. If you have any other tips and stuff, tricks that you want other people to know, leave them in the comments. Because every beekeeper does something different. You won't get two beekeepers that do the exact same thing. It's not everything works for everybody. Anyway, hope you have a very good day. Bye bye.